Welcome to Interviews from Quito. I tell a story in English. I am Andy Sebastia. We're here today with Ivan Vallejo, a well-experienced mountain climber from Ecuador. Ivan is the first Ecuadorian to have climbed the 14 tallest mountains in the world, and all of them taller than 8,000 meters above the sea level. Ivan, thank you for this meeting with us today.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ivan. Mountain climbing is a high-risk activity. How did you become interested in this sport?
Hi, Andy. So nice to see you again after a long time. Really welcome to my home. Yes, it is. To climb mountains, it is a sport with a very high risk. But when I decided to be a climber, I never thought about the risk. Always, I was thinking about how beauty it is the place and the mountains. So the first time I decided to be a climber, I was 8 years old. I was a child. I am from Ambato, and I remember very clear that it was in the afternoon. The sky was really very blue, and at the background there was the Tungurahua volcano, very clear, with a big crater looking to the city. So I remember this was the first moment that I discovered the mountain. So for me, this moment was so amazing, and I did it to myself 2 questions: how is possible to get the summit, and how will be the feeling of the people who arrive to the summit? So this was the first moment that I discovered this first love, the first connection with the mountains. In my home, my mother was a nurse in a hospital. My father was a normal worker in a factory. So I don't remember that my mother or my father take me to the mountains, never before. So I think was my first connection, my first love, just looking to the volcanoes, just looking to the Tungurahua. And my first real summit was when I was 12 years old. I was at the first year in the high school, the Iliniza Norte Summit. This was in one weekend, I think was in February or March, that I remember when I came back to the high school on Monday. I was totally sure that this will be the way of my life to be a climber.
In mountain climbing, who were your roles as a youngster? You thought of somebody who got into the mountains. You got to read something about it, or you just went as a mountain climber, as a hobby, as a sport?
I think that it's really very important in your life if you have some very important reference in your life. In my case, at the beginning, when I was a child, my main reference was Tenzin Norgay and Edmund Hillary, because these 2 people were the first 2 people who climbed Mount Everest. This was on 27th of May, 1973. So I was so lucky because I discovered in a small library in my high school a special book telling the history about how they get the top of Mount Everest. So for me to read this story was very important in my life, and I remember very clearly that in the page number 82 there is a big picture of Edmund Hillary standing off the summit of Mount Everest. So in this moment, I decided to follow the steps of Edmund Hillary and Tenzin Norgay. In this moment, I was a child, 12 years old. And after 4 years, I think, I was 16 years old. I remember very clear that my mother was outside of my home to do some small shopping. And when I came back, my mother told me, hey, Ivan, I have for you a very good surprise. The surprise was at the first page of El Comercio, you know, the most important news here in Ecuador. In the first page was a big picture in colors talking about the first Ecuadorian man who climbed Mount McKinley. And the most important, at the foot of the picture, this was the history. Marco Cruz Arellano, a mountain climber from Riobamba, who studied for to be a mountain guide in Chamonix in France. For me to read this history was so important because in this moment I decided to follow the steps of Marco Cruz. And more important because Marco Cruz is from Ecuador, is from Riobamba, very close to Ambato, and he was a reference from my country.
But this is like when you make a decision to hit for the Everest because an Ecuadorian made it and another climbing, so it's actually possible that an Ecuadorian can do it. And you did something that no one has done in Ecuador. You climbed the mountain, Mount Everest, without oxygen. How do you prepare to do this?
Okay, at the beginning, I was just dreaming with my small peaks, my small mountains like Cotopaxi, Chimborazo, etc., etc. But after
you call them the small mountains. Why?
Yeah, because if you compare with Everest, Everest is close to 9,000 meters over sea level. Really, still is very high. So the Chimborazo, the Cotopaxi are really very small. But at the beginning, I just was enjoying every mountain, every hill here in Quito, in Ambato, in Riobamba, etc., etc. But my dream to climb Everest started when I did my first trip to Nepal. This was in 1995. In this time, my idea was just to arrive to the Everest base camp, to know the Everest, to see the Everest, to take some pictures and no more. So after, when I came back to Ecuador and I was checking again the pictures, just in this moment started my new dream to get the summit of Mount Everest. Of course, at the beginning, I was so scared because in this time I just, the highest peak that I have climbed was the Huascarán in Peru, 6,768 meters, and the Everest is close to 9,000 meters. But after, I decided that could be possible because the first man who climbed Mount Everest without oxygen was Reinhold Messner from South Tyrol. So I decided to read the book talking about this history, and at the end of the history, I thought to myself, Reinhold Messner is like me, because he's a human like me, with 2 legs, with 2 arms, with 2 lungs, with 1 heart. So I have exactly like a Reinhold Messner. So I think will be necessary to do a very special training, to be very, very intensive with the training, but I'm sure I can do it. So this was the beginning.
But being born in Ecuador, with the altitude we have in Quito, and the altitude we have in Ambato, that helped you out a little bit to climb the Everest, a little bit?
Of course. If you have some details that can help to your project, you must use. Of course, because I am so happy because I was born in Ambato, I live in Quito. Quito is 2,800 meters. Is much, much better for my training. Of course, this is, I think it's very, very good idea to accept these qualities. Mm-hmm.
In 2008, you fulfilled an important goal in your life, which was climbing 14 mountains, and all total 8,000 meters each above the sea level. How was this challenge for you?
In my life, this is the most important challenge. I'm talking about my life and my sport life, because after I climbed Mount Everest without oxygen, I received a beautiful gift from Everest. Because to get the top of Mount Everest, I was training very hard, almost 4 years. So it was very, very, very important in my life, because for 4 years I was training every day very hard, and my body, my soul, my spirit learned a lot of. So the beautiful gift that I received from Everest, that from after Everest, I discovered how was my power for these big mountains. So just after my first Everest, I decided to do the 14,000ers.
One of the questions that is not in my script is, how do you felt when you got to the top of the Everest emotionally? When you finally were there, actually made it without oxygen. What is it you felt? How was your feelings about that? You felt closer to God, closer to nature. You were above something else, different. You felt different. What was your feelings?
I remember the moment when I arrived to the top of Everest, like one of the best of my life. One of the best of my life. The two most important feelings. The first one, a lot of gratitude with God and the life, and the other, a lot of happiness. So happiness, because I was so lucky because I arrived to the top of Everest with a very good weather. It's amazing. I was on the top without gloves, hanging on the Ecuadorian flag without gloves. All the sky completely blue, a lot of clouds very down the valley, and all this place was for me. I started for crying a lot of just crying and crying, and just after this I started to do a very emotional prayer. It was a beautiful moment, so beautiful, so beautiful. A lot of gratitude because about 25 minutes I stayed alone on the top of Everest. So
you stayed for 20 minutes.
No, 1 hour.
1 hour.
But 20 minutes alone, completely alone. Okay. So for me it was a very special moment because you know I am very short, 1 meter 64 centimeters. So I was thinking I am very short, but just in this moment I am the tallest man in the world. I am so happy, and I started again for crying. So it was a very nice moment.
Ivan, how do you prepare physically in order to meet these challenges? How is your regimen of work to work out for each climbing?
In this point, I think it's very important to recognize that it's not possible to do a challenge like this alone. I have a team. I think that in every project in the life, it's not possible that the human can get the goals alone. Always is necessary a special team, a very important team. So in my case was my medical, in sport medicine medical, Oscar, like my brother, the trainer, and the person who was taking care of my food. So this team was working for me almost 11 years to prepare my training plan. This is the key in every project. Like an artist, like a climber, like a teacher, like I don't know. I think the most important is how focusing is in your goal.
But you also need a psychological preparation for this risk that you will face.
Absolutely.
How do you prepare psychologically?
Absolutely. This is my theory. I think that if we have one scale from 0 to 100%, from 0 to 50% is your physical preparation. Mm-hmm. And from 50 to 100 is your psychological preparation. It's very important. And this is the balance. One half your physical preparation and the other half your psychological preparation.
And what do you say to yourself when you're climbing?
And how do you get this? You can get for many years to go to the mountains, for many years to go for climbing. Yeah. Because every time you are increasing your value, every time. Because at the beginning, when I was climbing the first time the Cotopaxi, for me the first time I was so scared because for me the Cotopaxi was very high. After for the Chimborazo was exactly the same. But continuously I was going to the Cotopaxi, to the Chimborazo, after I was climbing in Peru, after I was climbing in Switzerland, in Italy. So I was increasing my psychological power. Mm-hmm. So finally, when I decided to go to Everest, before to go to Everest, I was climbing in Himalaya 3 mountains. One of them 7,000 and 2 of them 8,000 meters peaks. So it was a project of all my life preparing for this moment.
And when you have a difficult step in the mountain, any mountain that you're doing, and it's difficult for you to use, what do you say to yourself psychologically, the next step? How do you tell yourself to keep going? What is the key of Ivan Vallejo's mind?
This is a really very good question, really very good, Andy. I told you before that the half is your physical preparation, and the other half the psychological preparation. In some hard moment, it is my case, normally I go back to the very hard moment when I was training.
Okay.
So suppose I have to run 12 kilometers. Okay. After I have finished my program, of course, my 12 kilometers, I decide by myself to run 1 kilometer extra by myself. Okay. Of course, at the end of the 12 kilometers, I am tired, but I decide to do 1 extra. So this 1 extra give me a very strong power to my psychology situation. So when I am tired at the mountain, or I have a big problem in the mountain, I go back and I think, okay, when I was training in the city, I was so strong because I did 1 extra kilometer. So I know I can do it. Come on, come on, come on. And I can do it, exactly.
How do you feel with fear? Fear of falling down, a fear of your equipment, fear of the weather, an avalanche or something, God forgives, something happens in the mountain. How do you deal with fear?
If you are practicing a sport like to be a climber or to be a pilot of Formula One or to be a driver of a motorbike, you know that you have a lot of risk. And it's really very important, to understand what does it mean to feel the fear. It's really very important. Because at the moment when you feel the fear, it is very important because you wake up all your sense to discover, to know how to do. The moment when the human decide to stop the fear, this could be very dangerous because you lose the small details of the weather or what about the crevasses, etc., etc. So I think that the key is to be good friends with fear, to walk together, even talking you and my fear. And in some moment I go in front and I leave behind the fear. But it's very necessary to feel the fear. It's very necessary. But the most important is how you can talk with the fear. It's very important.
So fear is your friend.
Absolutely, must to be.
Tell us about this new project that you have. It's called Somos Ecuador en las montañas del mundo. We are Ecuador in the mountains of the world. This is a beautiful project that you're doing right now.
Thank you so much. After I finished the 1480,000ers, immediately I was thinking what could be my new project. And I decided Somos Ecuador, we are Ecuador, because I think that after one person, one human, get some pigs or some Olympic medals, etc., etc. Yes. The next step is that you must to share all this process. So this is the reason because I decided to share with these young people, and we started with Somos Ecuador. Actually, the most of the people is really very young. 23, 28, 29, 30 years old, really very young people. Now my project is to share with these people all I have learned in the Himalayas and the mountains of the world.
One of the members of this project is Carla Perez, who is one of the top mountain climbers from Ecuador, female. Are the women involved in the sport in Ecuador? This is something first in Ecuador and Latin America, that women are becoming mountain climbers?
Yes, when I started this project, Somos Ecuador, I was really very clear to include a female in the group because I think that it's very important just in this moment the presence of one woman, Ecuadorian woman in the project, because Carla Perez, I think at the moment, is one of the most important climbers in Ecuador and is the most important talking about women. Because Carla can give a very nice message to all the Ecuadorian women that it's possible to do this kind of things, to climb this kind of mountains that at the beginning the most of the people is thinking that it's just possible for man. So I am really very interested that the next year, Carla could be the first Ecuadorian woman who climbed Mount Everest without oxygen.
Wow.
Exactly. So I am working like a coach with Carla just now. This is the reason because the next June we are going to climb together in Pakistan. Because one of my big dreams is now to help to Carla to be the first Ecuadorian woman climbing Everest without oxygen. And this will be a very good message for Ecuadorian women.
By this time this interview will air, you will be in Pakistan. That will be your next challenge.
Exactly.
What's going on in Pakistan?
The highest peak on the world are 14, are 7 in Nepal, 5 in Pakistan, and 2 in China. So in Pakistan, there is the Karakorum Ranch. So we are going to the Karakorum Ranch to climb the Broad Peak. Broad Peak is 8,046 meters over sea level. So this is the mountain we are going with Carla in June and July. Of course, this will be the last step before to try the Everest the next year.
Not many people know how difficult it is to get sponsors to become a world-class mountain climber as you are, especially financial support. How hard is it to get a sponsor?
At the beginning, so hard, very hard. Because now, with all my respect now, if you tell my name, Ivan Vallejo, now is, thanks God, it's very easy. But at the beginning, nobody knows me here in Ecuador. And at the beginning, most of the people was thinking I am crazy because I want to go to Everest very far away without oxygen. So the first 4 years, 96, 97, 90, and 99, was a very difficult economical situation in my life, so difficult. Always asking the money in the banks for to go to the expeditions, and every year working so hard to pay this money, so hard. But I was very clear that always this is the way when you are a beginner. Always, if you decide to put a business on this street, at the beginning, just a few people is coming to your business because nobody knows you, because nobody knows what about your products, etc., etc. So at the beginning, it's very hard. So I was very clear that was my situation. Okay, Ivan, you must continue 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Finally, just finally, after Everest, it changed the side. After. So when I decided to climb K2 in 2000, thanks God, it changed the situation. But the 4 years at the beginning was so difficult. So after Everest, I was knocking the door. Oh, Mr. Ivan Vallejo, you are Vallejo who climbed Everest. Yes, I am. Okay, come on, we can talk. Fortunately. But in every project, when you are beginning, this is the rule. This is the rule. So the most important is how you believe in your project, how you believe in yourself. So I was very sure in my project. I was very sure about myself. So this was the reason, because 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, I was waiting. And finally...
Ivan, I really want to thank you for this wonderful interview. And I want to ask you the last question. How do you see, what is Ivan Vallejo for the future? What do you want for Ivan Vallejo? What do you want for yourself in the future?
For the next 10 years, because just 1 month ago, I was 55 years old. So for the next 10 years, I will be on the mountains with my expeditions, climbing around the world. At the second week of March, I am going to climb to Italy. After, I am going to Pakistan. In November, I am going to climb in India. So this is my life. So the next 10 years, I hope I will continue climbing. About my personal life, my nice plan of my life is to be father of my daughter Camila. Maybe she will be with me 2, 3, 4 years more. But about my job, to continue like a speaker, because I think that the action most important after to be climber is to share with my Ecuadorian people my history. This is for me very important, because I used to go to the high school, to the university, to the companies to share my story. So I think this is very important in my life. So about the next 10 years, this will be my life.
Ivan, as you say, thanks for sharing with us your lifetime, your experiences. We wish you the best for the next, not only 10 years, for the next 40 years or 50 years.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We wish you a great year in 2015, and we're going to be reading about it and watching your career going up. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much, Andy. Thank you for coming to my home. Thank you all the staff to coming to my home. Sorry, my English is not perfect, but I talk with my heart. I hope everything is okay. Always welcoming to my home. Always to welcome to Ecuador.